Hacksaw. 2x4, it is Hacksaw, tough guy. No one is the Hacksaw Hour. 2x4, it is Hacksaw, tough guy. No one is the Hacksaw Hour.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus D'Angelo, and we are back for another episode of the Hacksaw Hour. And of course, you know this man right here. That is WWE Hall of Famer Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Jim, what's going on, man?
Good afternoon, Marcus. Nice to see you.
Oh, very tame today.
I try to keep it a little bit low key. You know, I kind of been going off a little bit. I just can't help it, brother. You know, old Hacksaw. Kind of was hoping you'd give me a ho, ho, ho. It's around the holidays, brother. Old Hacksaw, all I've been doing is putting up decorations. I mean, we live out in the country. Nobody sees our house. Nobody. But we got decorations everywhere, man. But Deborah says we see it, so that's the main thing. So we're putting up decorations until like January 14th.
We got some work ahead. Let me say, Jim, that tree looks massive. How tall is that thing?
Oh, you should see when it gets excited. Holy smokes, brother. I tell you, yes. Yeah. It's about 12 feet. We got a big foyer here, man. You know, yeah, I told you we built a log house. And people say a log house, that's like a kit, right? I'm like, yeah, like a pile of 2x4s is a kit for a regular house, you know? Instead of one guy go grabbing a 2x4, you need three guys to go grab a log. Don't fall for the log kit deal. And I'm a wrestler. You think I'd know better, you know?
When did you build that place, Jim?
Oh, about 16 years ago. Yeah, me and my buddy Big Al from Florida came up. I kind of held everything. He was a real true carpenter, and we didn't know a whole lot of people up here, so it took us a while to build it. And it's nice. It's pretty and everything, but don't buy a log home.
Lesson learned.
Log cabin now, a nice little log cabin. That's cool.
If I remember right, Jim, you're done traveling for the year, right? When's your next event?
I don't do anything to the Jericho cruise in January, so looking forward to that. I'm doing my stand-up show on the cruise this year, so that'll be fun.
Oh man,
you know,
that's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of guys do stand-up now. You see, even Big Papa. A lot of people call him the Godfather. He'll always be Papa to me, man. I love the big guy. He's doing a show. You know, I got to give Mick Foley a lot of credit. You know, Piper was maybe the first guy, but Foley took it a whole nother level. And of course, Jake does a lot of stand-ups. I do a few, and of course, Jake is, you know, XXX rated. I try to keep mine family friendly, you know.
Well, guys,
I'd like the Jake show.
We'll put out some links to that Jericho cruise. It is coming fast, so I don't know if there's still tickets available or not.
We'll have security. I think it's already sold out, man. Yeah,
but sold
out.
Yeah,
check. It's a great time. It's a lot of fun. And Jericho, the guy doesn't get the credit he should. I mean, he's kind of on the Hogan Flair level. I think the guy, he's been around for a long, long time. Works with all the top guys, and on the cruise, he's going 100 miles an hour with all the bands and stuff, and then he's going 100 miles an hour with the wrestling. The guy works really hard. He's a workaholic.
You know, we're about to get into these fan questions, but you bringing up Jericho, I've got to ask, Jim, you know, you were there in WCW. I believe he debuted in 1996, so you had been with the company. I mean, when you're first meeting Chris Jericho back in the day, I mean, did you ever picture him being able to make it to this level?
Yeah, I think I even met him before then. I mean, was that WCW?
WCW. I know that he had been in the business for a few years. He had been in like Jim Cornette's territory, Smoky Mountain.
Yeah, it seemed like I run across from before WCW, but yeah, he's the kind of guy. I just saw Dolph Ziggler or whatever his name is now. He's another guy I looked at and said, yeah, they're the kind of guys. They got the body, they got the look, they got the work ethic. You can see those kind of guys being the marquee guy for the company. You want a guy like that, you know, handsome, good looking, good body. He's the guy you want to be your showman.
Man, that's
and so yeah, I could see him doing well. And the kid is the man has always been a class act, really has.
And it's cool to see him still doing it today with AEW and still performing at a high level.
Butt. Holy shit. He worked hard, man. I tell you, it's supposed to look like this, but you know, not this, you know. Now the kids are like, yeah, wait, look at this. Hey, brother, it's pro wrestling.
It's funny that you say that too, because like now the big thing today, and Jericho actually did it a while back with in AEW. A thing today is somebody will take a pizza cutter to your head and get color on you that way, like the hard way with it. Jim, would you have ever done a pizza cutter with like Terry Gordy?
No, no, never. Nah. Abby the Butcher might do that kind of stuff. Brody might do that kind of stuff. Very seldom would I get up on the top rope. I'd be up doing. There's a reason they call it high risk moves, and I mean, in the old days, no matter how hot that crowd was, you pop that sauce, it'd be a different level. They'd be in the ring with you.
All the way up through the roof. And we're trying to take it through the roof today with some of these fan questions. The listeners at Ad Free Shows brought it again. And
we got some listeners.
Yes, sir. I think there's like 4 or 5 out there.
That's my sisters, the 3 of them.
No, we're doing well there on Ad Free Shows. It seems like everybody's loving what we're doing, and they proved it by asking a bunch of questions this week. Jim, you ready to jump into them?
Sure, buddy.
All right, here we go. First up, we've got George Jones, who asks, any memory of touring the United Kingdom in the early 90s, please?
Yeah, when we first went over to the UK, brother, it was crazy. I mean, that was the Wembley Stadium, Royal Albert Hall, and it was like the only thing I can kind of compare it to was like the Beatles coming to town. We landed at the Heathrow Airport. There'd be hundreds, if not thousands, of people at the airport. We'd have the 2 buses, babyface heel bus, and then maybe even a office bus, and we'd have the police motorcycle escort going the wrong way on the interstate over there. You'd go to the hotels. There'd be people out in front of the hotel, or whatever the gimmick was. I mean, it was so hot over there. And, I asked Vince, because back then I was doing a lot of work with Vince on primetime and stuff. I mean, it was so hot and it was going over a lot. I'm like, why not spread it out, Vince, and milk it for all it's worth. He goes, it's hot right now. We're going to take it while it's hot. And it was hot, man. And I know I told the Wembley story where me and the Whackers, we stole the show going to one corner. Yo, yay, ho. Follow that, fellas.
They tried their best with that Bret Hart British Bulldog stuff, but nothing compared.
They actually wrestled. What the hell is going on?
Who wants to see that?
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Ryan Connolly, who asks, can you share some funny stories of traveling with 2x4s all these years? I still have a foam one downstairs.
The full people were bringing real 2x4s to the ring, or to the arena. And of course, I joke. I said, you have a 2x4. You're like, hey, how's it going? Boom. Oh, I'm sorry. Boom, boom. It's like a Three Stooges stunt. People be going down left and right. I always keep a board close just in case, brother. But anyway, yeah, because I could travel. Like Jake, he had to drag that snake around wherever he went. I joke. I walk into the arena. I said, can somebody find me a 2x4 and get him a 10-foot python? And that was a 100-pound snake. That was a pain. Drag that thing around. That was a hassle. I could go, and sometimes I'd be at the arena. I'd be out back breaking up a pallet. Come on. As long as it was wood. I think one time I had a piece of plywood. It was no. So when I went over to Europe, everything's metric over there. Their 2x4s are much, much bigger. So my father-in-law, God bless him, Bill, he made me this beautiful felt 2x4 case. Oh, it's gorgeous. And I carry my 2x4 in when I go over to Europe. So we fly into Italy, we get to Italy. The flying all, it takes forever. I have to connect in England to get to, Barcelona, wherever we were going. And I got all the boys with me, Hogan, Andre. I just happen to be one of the front guys in the line. And so we're going through, and I'm drinking pretty good back in the day, right? And the guy, he pulls the 2x4 out, and he's like, he goes, what do you do with board? And I said, I'm building a house over here piece by piece.
That was his reaction.
The guy goes, sit over there.
I think it.
About 3 hours later, I'm going, I'm very, 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 very sorry. But the bad thing was, then I get on the bus, everybody's on the bus that'll wait for me, They're like, Duggan, we want to get to the hotel, so bottom line, don't joke with accustomed people.
No joking with customs.
No joking.
uh, next
got
up,
a little cold going there.
Oh, no worries, Jim. Next up, we've got Patrick Ruth, who says, Hacksaw, what were your expectations for fan reception at the first Royal Rumble? So, I mean, you're coming out there for the first ever Royal Rumble, Jim. You know that you're going to go over. Did you know it was going to be a really big deal at the time?
No, I don't think anybody realized how big the Royal Rumble would become, or I don't think anybody realized how big the WWF or E would become. I think back then we're just coming out of a regional deal, even though at Mid-South we were doing Superdome shows. So it's not crazy to be in front of a whole bunch of people. I mean, the business was hot at that time. But I don't think anybody saw the worldwide powerhouse wrestling has become.
Yeah, it's awesome to see what the Royal Rumble is today. It is legitimately probably the second biggest show in professional wrestling. And I mean, you won the first one. It's a really cool feather in your cap, Jim.
Yeah, that's the biggest feather in my cap, because people say, Hacksaw, you were never world champion. You were never intercontinental champion. You were never tag team champion. I said, I was lucky to win a match. Are you kidding? I tell you. But the winning that Royal Rumble, that was the big deal. Yeah, sure was.
Yeah, and as we discussed on the last episode, you were the last ever Mid-South North American champion. So pretty cool stuff.
Right, and the only undefeated WCW television champion. Yeah.
Man, it's a few feathers.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got...
I've had a good run. I tell folks, they see the dark side of the ring. I said, I'm the opposite side of the coin. Been with Deborah for 40 years. Never had to go to rehab for booze or drugs. Did a lot of both, open about it. Never got hooked. No felony arrest. Couple misdemeanors, but it was the 80s. What the hell, Well, that Jack Daniels, that was jail in a bottle back in the day, Old number 7, I'll tell you, me and Terry Gordy, get back to back, Gordy. Let's go.
You stayed clean. That is a really remarkable thing. You stayed clean and didn't get hooked on anything when like a lot of guys were having trouble with like somas and placidils and all this stuff that was going around back then. Do you just have like a really high tolerance, or what's the story there, Jim?
Well, I didn't really do that much. I like to smoke weed to this day. I mean, and of course that got me in trouble with the sheik,
Yeah.
I don't like the heavy drugs. But back in the 80s, I experimented and did a lot of cocaine was prevalent. I did steroids. I go see my heart doc, and he's like, well, shit. I'm like, yeah. Put a lot of crap in my body, man. I sure did. And paying the price of being a cancer survivor and still fighting cancer, having health issues. But as we talked before, where people compare us to sports teams. We were a rock and roll band. Every night you're going to a different city, a different country. You're out partying. You can go to your hotel room or go down to the bar. Here, have a drink. Bang my old lady. Here's an 8-ball. Ooh, have a good time. It was a different time. It was the 80s, brother. And that's where you're like, oh, he's gone. And they're like, Hacksaw, you look a little rough. Compared to Macho, I look great, brother.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, I think it's easy for fans to pass judgment like, oh, geez, these guys were out of control back then. It's like, imagine being in like your 20s or 30s even, and people are just offering you free shit all the time, like women coming up to you. Like, it would be tough. I
didn't have that. I just get the overflow from Sean and Marty and Ricky and Robert. They just get the overflow. Are you kidding? Hi, I'm Jim. Is that Mace? Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. Next up, we've got Adam Krasnoff. He's actually got a few questions, and there's some good ones.
No math questions.
No math questions. He says Louisiana is known for drive-through daiquiris. What was your favorite daiquiri flavor, Jim?
Oh, I like the pineapple daiquiris. Not that I remember. I'll tell you right there, especially right by the Superdome, man. I mean, and of course they'd recognize you back then because you only had 3 channels to choose from.
Yep.
you watch wrestling, the news, or a game show, so everybody knew you. You know, hey, it's Hacksaw and Dr. Nat Steve Williams.
So they would hook you up as you were going into the arena?
Oh, no.
Oh, never. Never.
Brother.
Trying to get you to cop to it.
Oh, my gosh. Are you kidding? There's been guys known to roll underneath in the middle of a match, roll underneath under the apron. Because me and Doc used to do this. We'd have the schoolboy, we'd roll this way, roll that way, roll out of the ring, poof, roll underneath the ring, underneath the curtain apron there, and you kick the top of the ring be popping up and down. People are like, they're kicking the hell out of each other. You just be laying on your back kicking. But I've known guys that have that little bullet of cocaine on there, and they'd go underneath the ring and bing, bing, bing.
Oh, so they were ready.
And yeah, well, actually, since we're telling what the hell, everybody, God bless them. I was working with Yoko and Mr. Fuji, and Yoko pushes me over on the second rope, and Fuji reaches in and he's choking me from the floor, and the ref takes Yoko over to the corner. Fuji takes one of them big greeny meanie Placidos, stuck him out in the middle of the ring. I was like, cover me quick
before this thing kicks in.
Yeah, Fuji, right?
Oh my God! I mean,
it was. You know, people say, well, what's the worst thing that happens? So you think of anything you can think of: mother-daughter teams, anything, drug-wise, anything you can think of happened.
Man, it really was a rock star.
That hotel at the Falcon Rest Motel in Atlanta. I mean, we had from pimps to prostitutes to all the boys. I mean, it was, people would drive by and throw holy water at us.
And probably burn sometimes.
Hey, that was another shot, brother.
Sorry, Jim. Gotta get
it did a little back then. I tell you, I look back at the picture now and like, ooh, what the hell? What happened? You know, Deborah's like there's a slow transformation over the year. Look at her Christmas pictures. Over the years, but.
Well, Adam has got another one. He says, what are your memories of being on the primetime wrestling discussion panel in 1992? How did Vince approach you about being a regular at the table?
Yeah, well, they just asked me, they didn't ask me. They told me to come up and do the show. I was just an employee. I didn't have a whole lot of input, I would just come do my gig and what they told me to do. So they said, hey, come up, we're going to do that show. I'm like, great. I knew the extra TV time. Excuse me. Is always super, and get to know Vince. I got along okay with Vince. And of course, it was Bobby and Kurt, who both of them I got real along with, and then Hillbilly Jim. So now you got to think about it. Hillbilly Jim, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yep. Kind
of close there, And so there's a little jealousy, I wouldn't say animosity, a little competitiveness there, And so I joke, I'd be doing my interview, and all of a sudden you see Hillbilly kind of leaning into the camera shot, That's right.
Start nudging him.
But and I'll tell you a good one though. Bobby, we get up, because we're in the studio up in Stamford, Connecticut, and everybody's mic'd up. Bobby would always keep his mic on. He'd make a point of going to the bathroom. You can hear through the whole building him peeing it'd be like, holy shit, Bobby, I see a doctor. Right?
Yeah, geez. What have you been drinking, man?
Something's up there, I'll tell you. He probably was pouring things knowing Bobby, right?
Oh, yeah. All right, last one from Adam. He says, in 1992, you took part in the WWF versus WBF tug-of-war challenge. You were captain of the WBF team as they were the baby faces going up against the heels. What do you remember about that event?
Well, the first, I don't know if they showed it. I remember doing the deal because we had so much fun, because it was down in somewhere Clearwater or someplace in Florida. So we got to spend a couple of days in Florida. I brought Deborah down with me, and the bodybuilder, the bodybuilders had heat with us.
Really?
And Vince starts the WBF, and he brings in all these bodybuilders and gives them contracts. Yeah. all the wrestlers were making all the money to pay the bodybuilders, because bodybuilders, Vince threw the dice, assuming that'll take off and he'll make money on it like he did wrestling. He invested in it, so using all the wrestler money to pay. So all the wrestlers were, what the fuck, they're not drawing a dime. And but anyways, we get there. It was Kurt's idea because they're all bodybuilders, right? So they got a ton of oil on. They all look great. We get ready. We could get together. Kurt hitting on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Did they all go spilling?
Oh shit! They all went tumbling, man.
Oh my gosh!
And they're all oiled up in the sand. They got really, really mad. Sit down.
I can see where that would piss the guys off. Where these guys are
Oh
coming.
well, we were shaking. I'll tell you.
Well, I know that those guys are really defined, muscular and stuff, but there's something.
Weights don't fight back. Hacksaw Jim Duggan does. Tough guy.
Yep, that's it. Next up, we've got Nathan Jones. Hacksaw, how was the trip to Scotland? The videos of you on those buses brought me great joy.
Yeah, I had to thank you, man. I really enjoy the UK in general. That's my favorite place to go is over to the UK. I love it over there. But we were in Aberdeen, man. I've been to Aberdeen quite a few times. Brought Deborah over with me, did the Comic-Con over there, and we stayed a while. I wish I could think of the young folks that worked my table, but we got along so well that we stayed a couple of days. They took me and Deborah in their car, drove us around the country. We had a great time. Really, really enjoyed it. Rode the double-decker bus, and people were like, well, you seem real excited. Well, not just for me, but for all the folks who've never been on a double-decker bus. Of course, we're in the front of the bus. We got our English hats on. We're taking pictures. People go, you must be Americans.
It did look like a blast over there. There was pictures.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Like I said, like the UK, it's not a bad flight, especially we go up. We got friends in Boston. Go up and visit them, and just fly over from Boston. It's not like going to Japan, Man,
awesome stuff. I would love to get over there at some point.
Yeah, you should go, buddy. And plus, they speak the language. It's so cool.
Boy, that does make life a lot easier.
Yeah, it sure does.
Trying to figure out how to ask for a beer in Japan has got to be a bummer.
Of course, now my daughters went over to Japan, and they had the phone gimmicks, and they had a good trip over there.
Speaking of Japan, it's actually coming up here in this next question. Justin Samuels asks, what was your favorite and least favorite country to wrestle in? I know you're not a big Japan fan.
Yeah, my favorite, I enjoyed the UK in general, and probably least favorite of all, though, was the Bahamas.
Really?
Yeah, Bahamas was tough, man. We were healed. That's before sports entertainment. I'm a top baby face in Mid-South. We work an angle where they hit me in the throat and hurt me. Bill Watts sent me to Florida, where Kevin Sullivan possesses me in Florida, and I'm working with Dusty in Florida in like first blood matches and stuff. That's how regional it was back then. People didn't know that I'm a big baby face in Mid-South. I'm hurt, but I'm down working. Of course, I'm sure there was a crossover. People going, hey, wait a minute. Down on vacation going, oh, wait. But anyway, going to the Bahamas, that was dangerous. They really hated the heels in Bahamas. Taxi cabs wouldn't take you to the arena. People would throw rocks at you and stuff. They broke the window one night, the heel dressing room, throwing trash and rocks in through the window. It was dangerous in Bahamas, of all places.
Yeah, you'd think that most guys.
My first trip over, right? I'm working in Florida. We're flying out of Tampa to the Nassau. I'm like, this is great, On the way back, I'm going, holy shit, USA, USA.
Did Jake ever tell you the story about how he almost died when he was in the Bahamas?
No.
We just talked about it not too long ago on our show where he got heat on some baby face, like a local baby face there. And as he's going back to the dressing room, they're throwing rocks and stuff at him. Well, they were so angry, they started breaking through back to the dressing room to come after him. They're throwing rocks and bricks. And so he had a pretty smart idea. He rolled himself up in a carpet There was a carpet on the floor, and he rolled himself up in it. And so as he's getting pelted with all this stuff, it doesn't kill him. He said he was in
Right,
there for
yeah.
like 15 minutes. So it's like, man,
Yeah, it was very, very dangerous over there. Yeah, a lot of places. Hawaii, I told you the story about getting beat up in Hawaii. Yeah, well, people, if you were a bad guy, people hated your guts. A bunch of heels. You'd wait to the end of the show and you'd all walk out to your car together. I mean, there'd be a bunch of people out there. Yo, son of a bitch, you beat up Ricky Morton. I'll get you, yo. You know, they really hated, and that's why you had a legit bunch of tough guys. And, you know, Bill Watts, he would fire you if you lost a bar fight. And, of course, you know, it was a different time in the business. It sure was.
man,
I'm
crazy.
lucky to make it through. I sure am.
Brian Florio asks, any favorite memories from the Nassau Coliseum?
Yeah, I can tell you the first time I went to the Nassau Coliseum, flying to Newark, you know, and I'm at the Newark airport, and this is back, you know, it's pretty intimidating. You come, you know, I'm Mid-South. You got Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, you know, that area. You drive it 3,000 miles, 25,000 or 2,500 miles a week. A lot of driving, but you knew your way around, knew how to get to the arenas and stuff. And then you get up to WWF. They give you a big stack of airplane tickets and find your way to the building at whatever this time is, you know. And I'm like, well, shit. You know, okay, so we just getting over that intimidating deal. But long story short, I fly into Newark. I got my stack of tickets. I got my get my rent-a-car. I'm staying at the hotel. I pull up my little rent-a-car map, and I'm figuring out, oh yeah, well I can make it there in 2 hours. No, you don't make it to your car in 2 hours up there. I mean, going over the Verrazano Bridge and stuff. Had to go over it, but anyway, I was. And I was new to the company, obviously, and I was extremely late, where I got reprimanded badly.
Oh no.
Got my ass chewed pretty good.
By Vince himself?
It's the big leagues, Duggan. Come on. Arnie Skolin, yeah, because Arnie was my friend too. Yeah, so Arnie, again, disappointed him, made me feel bad more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was so late. I ended up going out there for like a minute. I'm in one of the opening matches, you know.
Yeah, not good. When you're new to a company. Didn't Jake trick you one time into being late or leaving early or something? I feel
That
like I've
was
heard that story.
my first TV up there. Yeah, that was my first TV. I think that might have been at Nassau too. That's true. I get there my first time, and of course, again, coming out of Mid-South, which was a good sized program, to go to WWE with its 20 18-wheelers out there and all the buses and all the limos, and you know, go in at 3 hours of TV. You're there for probably 10 hours to tape those 3 hours. And I'm on the car, I look at the thing, I'm on the second hour, I go out and I finish my match, I go back and I'm sitting back in the dressing room. And Jake comes, you know, Jake was in my wedding back then. Jake and I were tight as could be back then, you know, travel with him all the time. He's like, Hacker, you're all done? And I'm like, yeah, I finished that second match. I had to, you know, they put me over pretty good. He said, well, let's go. You know, I'm like, no, shit, can't go. The show's not over, brother. I better stick around to the end. He goes, no big deal. Let's go. Come on, we'll leave. You know, okay, brother. You know, so we jump in the car. We're about a half hour outside the town. You know, Jake looks over at me. He's like, man, I can't believe you left TV on the first day. Brother.
I hope you got him back.
No, well, we had back the best one. I don't know if I'll beat Jake to this story because he kind of exaggerates on the stories a little bit. Not that any of us do. We're wrestlers. That's part of the job. He said. But he had those little poppers you throw down and pop.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're like, they come in a little, like 4th of July. They're just, but anyway, and I'm driving one night and Jake picked him up at a truck stop and he throws it up against the window. Bang! Whoa! What the hell was that? You know, I thought we had a flag going down there. They're little round things, man. He's like, with a bang! What the hell? Bang! He did not. They're shooting at us. Somebody's shooting at us, Jake. So, yeah, you can ask him about that one, the son of a.
I can't wait to talk to him about it. That's hilarious. And it sounds like something Jake would absolutely do.
Another one, he was in town before me, so there was a gentleman's club.
Oh, okay. A dance
next door
club.
next door to the hotel. And so then, to get to the gentleman's club, you go around all these bushes, and the bushes are like these huge thorn bushes, So Jake was there the day before. Then he realized there's all these big, huge thorn bushes, So we get there, and we're coming out of the hotel. We're like, okay, I'll beat you to the strip joint. Beat you to the strip joint, man. I was running. I mean, I got a shirt on like this. There's blood out and stuff that wouldn't even let me in the strip joint. Oh, yeah, I meant to tell you, there's thorns in those bushes.
I bet he was just dying laughing.
Anyway, I wish he was just dying.
All right. Next up, we've got Matt S., who asks, how did Jim feel about not being part of the WrestleMania 7 card, instead doing commentary on the opening match of the card?
Yeah, I wasn't happy about it, obviously. Yeah, obviously better to be in the ring and stuff. But I don't know who made that decision. But they kept me strong, but they never put the big gas on me. Of course, knocking Andre out is about as big as gas as you can get. But I mean, for consistency, and of course, I think the longer I was up there, the sillier my character got. So they, might not have thought, even though I was popular and they wanted to keep me part of the show, they might not have thought my wrestling would have fit into WrestleMania.
Now, I won't ask you for any specifics, of course, but like when you do something like that,
I hope not. Jeez, brother. I know you're better than that, I hope.
Instead of like working on a card, if you're part of the commentary team, is like, would it be a similar payoff or like significantly less?
I would imagine it'd be quite a bit less, yeah.
Ah, man, that
but still, it's a payoff. You're still part of the show, It's that's as long as you're hanging on. That's why I see the Big Show. He's like, I've been hanging on for a long time. They've been stomping on my fingers. Like, no, not yet.
Still
that's a big deal. Every time I see the Big Show, now the next time I see him, because he's been hanging on, I'm going to switch it on to him.
Yeah, he's still there with AEW. Incredible.
Yeah.
So, man,
of course, back in the day, if there was a giant from Big Show to Yokozuna to Andre, Duggan, get your 2x4. I had to wrestle every giant there was.
They knew you could take the punishment.
Well, it was actually better as a babyface to wrestle a guy bigger than you. It's easier to get that sympathy if you're wrestling, Yokozuna at 400 pounds and he's crushing you. Well, you're wrestling Shawn Michaels and they're like, well, hit him back, Hacksaw.
That is something I never really thought about. You're like the consummate baby face. So like, you're a huge guy yourself. So in order for you to be in peril, you've got to be against a really huge guy.
Or a guy like DiBiase. I mean, a guy that can really work and knows how to wrestle.
Bryant Haremza is up next. He says, "Who would you say was the best influence on teaching you about the business?"
DiBiase. Yeah. Bruiser really? Brody may have had Brody or DiBiase. Brody had the major influence on my character. Excuse me. 2x4 style of work, long hair and beard. Well, I was wild man then, but a lot of but actual in-ring work and timing and selling and understanding the business. Teddy. DiBiase. As we talked to the second generation guys, DiBiase, Jake, Kurt Hennig, the Von Erichs, guys that grew up in the business. They're in the ring at 14 hitting the ropes. I started at 25 and it took me years to learn and working with Ted a whole lot. Starting off, he tells a story. The first time I worked with Ted was Georgia Championship Wrestling as Big Jim Duggan in a tag match, and he was tagged up with Wildfire, Tommy Rich. And Ted tells a story. I tied up with him. He goes, "Fuck you," and pushed me off and tagged in Wildfire. He goes, "He's all yours." Because I was like this. I didn't know what I was doing. It took me a long time to learn to relax because it's hard being in the ring. Talk about speaking in front of people. Try standing in a pair of short shorts and patent leather boots in front of hundreds, if not thousands, of people. It was terrifying, coming out of a football background with everybody all around me, the helmet and shoulder pads. Now I'm in the ring. So just to feel comfortable in the ring, it took me years. Yeah, probably. And then to learn to actually wrestle where I knew what I was doing. That's why when I see Johnny Rods and Jose Estrada, I apologize.
I mean, when you're coming from amateur wrestling and football, like competitive sports, and now all of a sudden you're in wrestling, it does have to be hard to make that adjustment where it's like, oh yeah, I don't really have to, get over against this guy.
And it was a huge gift that Fritz gave me because I wasn't a wrestling fan. I didn't understand wrestling. I never watched it growing up. I was so focused. I had blinders on football. I expected to be in an NFL for 10 years. And the first time I met Fritz, he's like, hey, you might be a better wrestler. Thanks very much, but no thanks. That blew him off. So I went to the Falcons. I went up to Toronto, offensive lineman, offensive guard, dime a dozen. I'm like, let me call that Fritz Von Erich. And for him to bring in a total outsider, because as we talked before, everybody was second generation guys, and open up the doors to professional wrestling, gave me the gift of wrestling. Because you really invest in a pair of trunks and a pair of boots, and you support your family. It's been a great business.
It's funny you should bring up Fritz. Last night I got to go to an early screening of that new movie, The Iron Claw.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was fun. Jim, I can't remember if I asked you this or not. Will you go and see that movie?
I don't know if I'll go see it. I'll see it when it comes on, where you don't have to go to the movie theater, but I'll be interested. I hope they give him, I don't know if they give him a good shot or no. I mean, obviously it's a tragedy. They call it the curse of the Von Erichs, right?
Yes.
Or the five boys dead, but
they did not paint him in a super positive light, to be honest.
Yeah, it'd be hard to do that, I guess, with 4 of your 5 sons dead.
Right. They kind of went a long way to make it seem like he really, really pushed all of his boys into the business, and it kind of led to their untimely passing. So I don't know if it was fair or not, but to be honest, I never met Fritz or any of the boys, so who knows what you certainly know better than I do.
Yeah, well, I had, Fritz just opened up the doors for me. I never had much interaction with him because I was just doing a few shows down there. What happened was I was driving Gino Hernandez around, and I think Tully was his tag team. Tully Blanchard was his tag team partner. Tully didn't show up, and they're like, "Kid, you got your gear? But we always bring your gear." I'm like, "Yeah," and so I wrestled a few times there, but then I went up to New York to visit my dad, and he knew Arnie Skolin for the old WWF, and that's where I went to work. But yeah, Fritz definitely opened up the door. I didn't really know the kid because I was Jabroni Joe down there. I mean, that's why it was so cool that Gino took care of me. I mean, he was one of the top guys, and I was staying with him for nothing, driving him around, and I was trying to fit in. It was disco time, and Gino, gorgeous Gino Hernandez, and he had this, I don't know, like Monte Carlo or something, and we'd go all the top discos in Houston. And I tried to fit in. I had a gold chain on, And everybody knows Gino. We'd pull up in front of the disco, and he'd be like walking in with a movie star, walking in with Gino. It's kind of cool. And for him to take care of me. And it went full circle where when Gino was falling on hard times, I was on top in Mid-South, and he came and stayed with me.
We always hear that Gino was like very paranoid, but a huge, huge partier. Did you experience a lot of both sides of Gino in that regard?
Yeah. I mean, it was gorgeous Gino Hernandez. He was a young guy. I don't know how old Gino was, but he was relatively young, and that's kind of fell to his demise because he didn't. Everybody said it was Paul Bosh's illegitimate son or something, whatever the deal was, but. We'd wrestle, of course, 7 days a week, maybe sometimes 9 times a week with double shots. But Gino would work maybe twice a week and make more than anybody else. As long as he'd work Houston, he'd get the big payoff and stuff. So Gino was their fair-haired boy. He went different places. He didn't work out. At Houston, they took care of him. But I get like Jake. A lot of guys don't like Jake. I get along with Jake. I get along with Gino.
Yeah, it's Gino. He's one of those guys that gets brought up a lot. Like, man, if he could have just made it to the WWF, God only knows how big he could have gotten.
Yeah, but see, then again, it's more than just talent, though. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have the talent, but they can't handle the road, the life on the road, the drugs, the time away from your family, all that. So you got to not only be able to have the talent, you got to be able to handle the road, and then you got to be able to talk on the microphone. I mean, it's tough to make it in the big leagues. That's the guys that are best in the world are on TV. That's why I tell people don't have no idea how competitive professional wrestling is. You know what? There's like 350 NBA basketball players. What between AWE and WWE, there's 150 of the boys. It's a tough business.
Yeah, and you can see why it would be really competitive, and that's why I always think it's incredible whenever I hear about guys.
And they brought Flair back, right? They brought Flair back.
Yep, Flair is.
I don't want to say nothing.
Oh! Jim, I'm actually going to skip ahead a little bit.
I got a few holes left in me.
That brings me to my
just
question.
Kidding, honey.
Wait a minute. You don't want to say that too loud.
Yeah.
That brings me to a question that we've got somewhere here. I want to give the person credit. Gosh, where is it? Okay. Matthew Green asks, if WWE wanted to bring you in as a manager, would you be interested?
Well, I talked to him, but I don't think there's a chance of that. I haven't been on a Legends contract. They haven't offered me one. Like I said, the guys I got along with, Dr. Death, Terry Gordy, Piper, they're all gone. Guys I didn't get along with, Stone Cold, Triple H, and Shawn.
Yeah, so all the top guys that are around there.
I'm not holding my breath. But yeah, I would. Yeah, I enjoy the business. I'd like to be around it. But yeah, it's hard to travel now. I enjoy doing the weekend stuff with me and Deborah. This past weekend we did Ocala and then up to Cincinnati. But never say never. That's for sure in this business.
Man, I know that Tony Khan with AEW certainly likes to bring in legendary guys. Actually, the Von Erichs, as we're recording this, the Von Erichs were on there last night. To promote the new movie.
The young Von Erichs,
the young guys, and Kevin.
Yeah, I met the young kids at an indie show, man, and I put over because they like you said, their dad or their granddad carries a lot of heat, but I put them over so I get to talk to the kids because Fritz was so good to me. I was good to the young kids.
And they are good kids and good workers.
Oh, they look great, right? They look good, yeah.
Yeah, very muscular. So, hey, I would love to see you on WWE or AEW. You just never know, right?
Oh, well, I got a couple drop kicks and a head scissor series I'd like to do.
You've been working on your diving over the top rope move, I know.
Shit, yeah. Well, if Lita comes back, I can call her a hoe. I just saw Lita and Trish at a Comic-Con there recently. It was they were there. Good
Did
to
you
see
shout
Lita.
ho?
Yeah, gave her a hug.
That's probably the safer.
Said ho.
Next up, we've got Craig Usher, who asks, if you had one more match against anyone today, who would it be? So let's not say you wrestling now today, like you in your prime. What modern day wrestler would you like to work with?
It's the old joke, I worked with The Rock's grandfather. I worked with The Rock's father. And I may get The Rock at WrestleMania. Ho!
We need it.
I tell you, I think back in the day, as working with guys like Doc and Gordy and Vader, I think I'd like to work with what the dude's name? Gosh,
Jack Swagger.
The guy with the sword down his chest.
Oh, Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar. Yeah, excuse me for not remembering his name. Kick myself. A couple of chair shots. Brock Lesnar.
Man, you and Brock Lesnar, that would just be fun.
I think, of course, the kids nowadays, they train different and much bigger and stronger. But, of course, and it's a work, too, though. So, on that case, I'll maybe work with Cena one-on-one. Because, John, I tell you what, when I first came up to WWE, I came out of WWF was the heyday, but I worked WWE as a talent. So I'm in some battle royal leading up to WrestleMania. And we're in a battle royal, and the Crime Time kids, the big Shad, God bless him. Yeah. I love that guy and his brother. Anyway, so we're in the battle royal, and there's Cena right there, and I'm just getting ready to punch Cena as I'm coming forward. Big Shad crushes me in the back, drives me forward about 3 inches. So it's like. I'm like, oops.
Oh boy, the breadwinner
I
of the
just
company.
smashed Cena in the mouth, man. I mean, the premier guy, I just potatoed the devil out of.
How did Cena react? Was he cool?
Cool as a cucumber, man.
Wow, how about
Went
that?
backstage, no big deal. Yeah, it was, yeah. I got a lot of respect for John. I brought one of my sisters to do a television show, and he came over and introduced himself. What a class! Obviously, you don't have to introduce yourself, but because you're John Cena. But that was a class act for John to come over and say hello.
I love the guy. Does a lot of Make-A-Wish stuff. Just seems like a
A
genuinely good
ton of
human being.
Make-A-Wish stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But man, you and Brock Lesnar, that just sounds like a layup, especially because you were the state champion in New York. He was NCAA champion. Like that's just a really cool, easy storyline to tell, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I did, and Doc was a AAU champion, I believe. Also, Steve Williams. Doc was an
Yeah,
amateur, so we
man.
used to roll around a little bit. Me and Doc. We never actually pulled the trigger, but we'd roll around a little bit.
Did you feel like if
Amateur stuff.
if it had turned into like, hey, let's actually do it, see if who can pin who? Do you feel like you could have stood a chance against Doc?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, the guy I beat at the New York State heavyweight championship, I was undefeated. The guy I beat, he won the Pan Am Games.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So
he won the Pan Am Games. So he was the guy I beat was good. He was actually a much better wrestler. I watched, if anybody goes back on YouTube and finds that 1973 New York State Finals, it's me and this guy from West Buffalo, I think, or wherever. But anyway, I mean, he's shooting takedown after takedown. I'm just blocking stuff. But boom, I was stronger than he was. So at the end, I did a reversal on him. Boom, I was ahead by a point, and I held him for about a minute. And he couldn't get loose, and I won by a point. But if you watch that, he was a good wrestler. I was just stronger than he was.
and that is out there on YouTube, folks. So if you're interested, go and have a look at it.
Don't.
A
And my shot put record still stands today.
That is
50
remarkable.
plus years. Holy smokes. I was up in Glens Falls recently. That's where I ended up in the hospital. Welcome home.
Man, the shot put record still standing all these years later. It's just amazing.
Yeah, no, like get those kids some Cheerios up there at Glens Falls. What the hell?
Yeah, yes.
It's funny. That's why. I think I put this on eBay. I found this. This is Woody Hayes welcoming letter to Ohio State. I just found out back.
Signed by Woody?
Signed by Woody. Back then they had interconference letters, but conference letters. So I think this is what the Big Ten, Ohio, April 2nd, 1973. Woody Hayes.
How about that?
Jim Duggan. I almost went to Ohio State. I wanted to go to Ohio State,
What stopped you?
Coach, they brought me, back then they didn't have a limit on recruiting trips. So I did like 7 different recruiting trips because I won the state wrestling championship. Shot put record still stands, and football was my main sport. So I was heavily recruited. So they got me at Ohio State, and the offensive line coach, he's got me standing in the middle of the big O. And he said, it's the national championship. We're down by 3 points. We got a minute to go. Now he's giving me down in time situation as we're running down the field. So now we're down on the goal line. He's like, it's 10 seconds to go. It's 4th down. We're going to go for the Nationals championship. We're going to run the ball, and we're going to run it over you. Are you going to make the block? Yes, sir, coach.
Man, got me fired up thinking about it.
Oh, man. So I come home, I get off the plane. I'm going to Ohio State. My mom's like, Jimmy, come here. You'll just be a number at Ohio State. Coach Cutbirth will take good care of you. And of course, I went down to SMU and I was able to start as a freshman. I had a great career. I was co-captain down there at the Mike Kelsey Award. Had a great career at SMU. So it was biggest decision, though. That's where I met Fritz von Erich.
Man, everything happens for a reason, as they say. And I think Fritz went to SMU as well, right?
I'm not sure if he went there, but he was a big backer of the Mustangs.
Okay. Yeah. I believe he played football.
And they're in a bowl game this year. All right, SMU.
Man, SMU. Look at them go.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do a couple more and we'll call it a day, Jim. A wrestling historian
You work
asked,
me harder than Vince. I hope so. Jesus.
at least I'm not making you take any bumps. Maybe on the next episode.
I'd rather take a bump.
A wrestling historian asks, what's the most important thing Bill Watts taught you?
That's a good question. What's the most important thing? I mean, Bill taught me an awful lot. Excuse me. I don't just maybe how to be a top guy. You know, how to present myself and how to work as and talk as and be a top guy in the company. Because you know what, JYD was always the top baby face. WrestleMania 1, when Dog went up to the WWF, that elevated me to the top babyface spot. And like we were talking earlier, guys like Ziggler and Chris Jericho, marquee guys. I'm not you're a marquee guy, but of course my character in Mid-South was a whole different character. If you're the marquee guy, it's a different position, and I think Watts exposed that to me and taught me how to be there a little bit.
Man, really valuable, especially, you know, when you're going to be headed to the bright lights.
Yeah, you can't be intimidated, brother. I mean, you go up there, and if you're not confident and you're not sure of yourself, and you're not going to last long in the big leagues. You know, if you know the old line: if first you don't succeed, then you're the shits.
All right, we'll do one more, Jim, and I think this will probably end us on a pretty high note. Mike asks, "What's your?"
Well, it's been a downer all match. Thanks, brother. Jeez, it's full of compliments, kid. I'll tell you.
Boy, I do get my shots.
Merry Christmas.
Even when I'm not trying, I'm getting those shots in. Mike asks,
curveballs.
What's your best Marty Jannetty story?
My best Marty Jannetty story. Well, I'll tell you the story. We're over in France, and we've been on the road for quite a while. And you know, this was me and I don't think we were married. Deborah and I were married, but you know, anyway, I've been on the road. I'm missing her. I'm drinking. I'm feeling bad. I call home, and she tells me they hadn't put my cat down. So I went and I drank everything in my minibar. So I went down to Marty's. I'm pounding on the door. He opened the door. You don't do that. Anyway, so I went in his room and I drank up his minibar, you know. So now I go back to my room and pass out. So I know I did a little damage. I hit the table and I broke a lamp. I know that. So that morning we got up. I went down. It was beautiful Grenoble, France. You know, the Alps are there. The bus and the people are walking by about 8 o'clock in the morning, downtown Grenoble. I'm hanging over the edge of the bus. What do you know? Who was it? Lombardi comes in, gets on a bus. He goes, "Hey, Pat," and is talking to the owner of the hotel. Something about your room. Oh, I said, okay. So I went in, and I'm still drunk as can be, you know. And I say, "Yeah, Pat, you tell me what I owe. I pay my damages. You tell me what I owe in the hotel. I'll pay." You know, Pat said, "Just get on the bus. Don't get on the bus, you drunk." That was kind of me. Imagine me being an ass, right? What the hell, right? So I get on the bus. Well, then like way later in the tour, somebody said they saw Marty coming out of my room. Well, I just filed that way back, you know, because it takes like 5 weeks to get your check from Europe, you know.
Yeah.
So 5 weeks later, I get my check. I'm like, they said they take damages out of my room. I'm like, shit, I bought a wing of the motel. What the hell? How much damages were there? So Marty's been known to go to people's rooms and tear them up. And to this day, Marty Jannetty will swear that he didn't tear my room up. But I don't believe him.
I actually heard a story about Scott Hall beating the shit out of Marty for that exact reason.
Yeah, Marty's got a rep for doing that. And I couldn't prove it. And Yeah, I wouldn't beat up Marty.
Well, Jim, this has been awesome. There's still a ton of questions left, so we'll roll them over into the next Hacksaw Mailbag episode. But man, it's always a blast to get to pick your brain, brother. This was a great time.
What's in my brain?
Pick your brain, hear your stories.
Yeah. Well, be careful what you're bricking, buddy.
Well, look, guys, the holiday season is here, and it might be getting close to too late for you to order, but I think you can still sneak them in over at hacksawjimdugganshop.com, right, Jim?
Oh, brother. Tell me I'm not learning. Thank you, honey.
That is for the listening audience. He just held up his signed 2x4, which are available over there on the site. He's got 8x10s over there. It's just an awesome site. If you're a wrestling fan, you got to go and do yourself a favor and check it out. Hacksaw Jim Duggan
2x4s, yeah, they've been going great, and of course, nobody can ever guess what it is when they get one wrapped up.
So it's just like wrapped in like cardboard paper, right? It's pretty.
Well, send it. Don't wrap it up nice with bows and stuff. They'll never guess.
Well, look, if you also want to just order something that's something that a wrestling fan in your life is never going to forget, and something, by the way, that doesn't have to be shipped, it's a cameo from Jim, and you can get one of those at cameo.com/hacksawjimduggan. And Jim, I know that you put a lot of effort into those, right?
Well, I have fun with them. Yeah, of course, like I said, at this weekend or anywhere, the Comic-Cons, autograph sessions, I enjoy visiting with the fans, and of course, doing the cameos. I like to switch it up a little bit and kind of give the fans what they thought about and a Merry Christmas, tough guy.
So look, if you're worried about like shipping errors and stuff, if you're working on like a time
what kind
limit,
of errors?
Shipping. Did I say shitting errors? If you're worried about errors, just go to cameo.com/hacksawjimduggan, order a cameo from Jim. Follow Jim on social. He's on there and he's really active. And hopefully people listening to this are signed on for that Jericho cruise. They can see you do some stand-up.
Yeah, that'll be a good time. I think we're going to schedule some for next year and do a few up in like the Midwest area. We're talking about doing some in early spring.
But all right, guys, we will see you here in 2 weeks for another episode of the Hacksaw Hour.
Thanks, everybody.
2x4, it is Hacksaw, tough guy. No one is the Hacksaw Hour.